Hello kids, Shubhamangalam at Little Scholar. Myself Sudeep. I'll be taking class 8 for today. I'll be teaching you physics, and we were done with chapter 2 explanation, and now we need to discuss the think and discuss portion and the objectives. So we are on page number 31. Please open up your textbooks to page number 31. This is the textbook. Okay, I hope you have it. And please turn to page number 31. Let's discuss the MCQs. So yes, which material do gymnasts apply on their hands to increase friction for better grip? Are you going to apply oil to increase friction? No, right? You need to apply something rough. So let's look at the options. Oils, soap, coarse substance or water. What is the meaning of coarse substance? It means something rough. So if you have seen people who lift weights, okay, if ever you have watched the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games on TV or television, people who lift weights, they are going to apply some, rough thing like rough powder or some talc, so that the hands become a little rough and the weight doesn't slip when they are lifting it up. So what do you need to do to increase friction? You need to have a rough surface. How are you going to create a rough surface on your palm? By applying some powder or a coarse substance. So please mark option C for the first one. It is coarse substance. Second one, the relation between the change in the length of the spring and the applied force. The change in the length of the spring and the force are always directly proportional. The more the length of the spring, the more is the applied force. So it is C, directly proportional. The bodies of birds and fishes must have evolved to shapes which would make them not to lose much energy in overcoming. What kind of friction do the birds and fishes possess? Fluid friction. And their body is not rectangular, it is not circular. That shape of their body is called as streamlined. Okay, so please write over there. Third one is D, fluid friction. That is the friction possessed by the birds, yes or no? And the fishes. The shape is called as streamlined shape. Remember this one. Fourth one. Which of the following friction has self-adjusting force? Adjusts to itself. This means comes to rest. Okay. Which kind of force? Which kind of friction? Means which kind of friction signifies that the body is at rest with relative to other bodies. It is nothing but static friction. Self-adjusting force is that the body is coming to rest with relative to another body, and it is called as static friction. So fourth one is option B. Now we have think and discuss, which we will discuss orally. Okay, come to page number 28. I'm writing the page number over here so that you understand what page are we discussing the questions. Page number 28, think and discuss. On the right hand side, page number 28, think and discuss on the right hand side, class. Okay, the first question, can we reduce friction to zero? You cannot eliminate friction completely, but of course you can reduce it to a certain limit, and you can reduce it with the help of lubricants or grease or oils. Can we reduce friction to zero? Please write no, but we can reduce it to a certain limit by using oils. Please write this down with a pencil. Okay, or else you can write it in the paper and stick it as a sticky note over here or pin it up. Now the second question, what purposes are served by bearings in machines? Ball bearings. Explain with daily life situations. These are used in the rotating machines, no, in the machinery. They are used in very heavy machinery, and they are going to appear somewhat like this, where the two lids will be attached with the help of balls, and they are going to rotate. So they are basically used in rotatory machines. Fine. Okay. I hope you understand why are we using ball bearings over here. Okay, it makes our work much more easier. If I'm going to remove the ball bearings from them, and I'm just going to attach the rotating lids with each other, they are going to create so much friction and so much spark that they'll get worn out completely even before time. Okay, at least when I use ball bearings, I give it a guarantee that they are going to be used for a certain duration, so that the duration, or there is a longevity in the period which they are offering me to use it. Do you understand? Okay. So now come to page number 26. Page number 26. What important role does friction play in the life of human being and animals? Helps us in, helps to walk, right? If there is no friction, the automobiles will not be able to apply brakes and they're never going to stop. Actually, moreover, I don't even think that they're even going to move. Okay, you will never be able to control the speed if there is no friction. Now, why is friction important for transport? See, they're just asking us the same question. Why is friction important for transport? It helps to control the speed of the automobiles. Write it down. It helps to control the speed of the automobiles. There we go. And then the next part. Come to page number 25. I'll just tell you the answer and you will write it down. Does friction act on a table resting on the floor? Please write a yes over there. The table is not moving on its own. The table is at rest. That is nothing but static friction. You want me to write it down? Okay then. Okay. Okay, page number 25 class. Okay, the first question. Does friction act on a table resting on the floor? They're just asking a yes or a no. Please write a yes. And it is nothing but static friction because the table is on rest on the floor. So if normal force is doubled, what happens to friction? Friction and normal force are directly proportional to each other. So in the first case, okay, I'll read out the question again for you. Does friction act on a table resting on the floor? Now, the floor is not at an inclined position. That is why the table is not moving. It is at a certain position, which helps, the table to stay in its rest position other than, keep on moving continuously without any force being applied. So there is a certain force which acting on the table to prevent it from flowing down or, falling down. So that's nothing but frictional force. Look at the second one. If normal force is double, what happens to friction? We have an equation just above. Friction is directly proportional to normal force. If normal force is increasing, friction is also increasing. What do I mean by normal force over here? It is nothing but, in place of one brick, if I'm placing two bricks, okay, I've increased the weight now. So I am going to apply more force to pull it. Similarly, there is going to be more frictional force which is going to stop me from pulling it. Did you understand? So it is, yes, normal force is double. What happens to friction? Friction is also doubled. Write it down. Friction is also doubled. The discuss part, I think you can give the example of the brick. If I increase the number of bricks, the normal force increases. Similarly, friction also increases. Okay. Now your friend says friction depends on the area of contact. She's wrong. Yes or no? We had an experiment over here where we are changing the area of contact. We have the horizontal brick placed and we are placing the brick vertically also. So what was the result of these two cases? We were applying the same amount of force to pull the brick. Did you understand? So friction is independent of the area of contact. Let's look at what our friend is telling. Your friend says friction depends on the area of contact. How do you correct your friend? Through some experiments. So which experiment are you going to refer? You are going to refer activity 4, which is going to tell you that friction does not depend on the area of contact. It doesn't matter if the brick is placed horizontally or if it is placed vertically. You are going to apply the same amount of force to pull the brick with the help of the spring balance. Okay, the next part. Friction is independent of weight but depends on normal force between surfaces of contact where friction exists. Do you agree with this statement? Yes. Of course we agree with this statement. And how are we going to prove this? With the help of activity number 5, wherein it is proving how normal force and frictional force are existing. Okay? There we go. This is done. And next we have page number 22 class. Does friction oppose motion or relative motion of surfaces in contact? Of course, page number 22, the first one is yes. And they're asking us to discuss about it. How is friction opposing the motion? You roll a ball on the floor, the ball is going to stop. What do you observe? There is an invisible force which is actually stopping it. What is the invisible force? Nothing but limiting or resisting force. Now, the next one. What observations and experiments can you cite to show the existence of friction? Okay. Please write down ball rolling on the floor. Writing on a paper. Sorry. Walking on the floor. There we go. Next, the third one. When do we speak of sliding friction? When you're applying a certain force to a very heavy object and the object starts sliding on the floor. What is it possessing? It is possessing sliding friction. Please write there, when we push a heavy box. When we push a heavy box, it slides on the floor. Please check whether we have done all the think and discuss portion over here. Okay, this is done. 20 to 23 done. 25 done. 26 done. And 28 done. The next we are going to do the study material class. Okay. So class, we are going to continue with the study material. This is your study material. Please open it up. And I've mentioned the page numbers that we will be discussing today. It's from page number 85 to page number 87. That's page number 85. Chapter 2 MCQs. Let's do it together. I hope you have a pencil in your hand. Please maintain the work very neat. Now choose the correct option and write the letter in brackets. Okay, the first one is arrange the friction of force in decreasing order. The largest friction is going to be static, followed by sliding and then rolling. Decreasing order means largest to smallest. So the answer is option A for the first one. The second one, if friction is not exerted, the moving bodies will never, if there is no friction, are the moving bodies going to stop? No, they're never going to stop. So second one is option number B. Third one, friction depends on the relative dash between two surfaces. Okay, the marker is rolling on this book, so there is a certain movement in the marker. Friction depends upon the movement of the marker. Okay, so please write third one is B. Answer could also be motion, but they have given movement, so please tick that. Fourth one, shape of the objects moving in fluids. I just told you. What is the shape of the birds and fishes called as? It is not circular, it is not rectangular, it is called as streamlined. Now, shape of the objects moving in fluids is to overcome friction exerted by fluids. What is the shape? It's option A, streamlined. Fifth one, dash is or are used in machines to protect their surfaces from wear and tear caused by friction. This means, what are you going to use to reduce friction? Lubricants. Only if I'm going to apply lubricants in the machines, they are going to be safe from wear and tear and they're going to have a longer lifetime. So please write, fifth one is option B. Sixth one, device used to reduce friction in the axles of car. Axle is like the wheel and axle. Okay, to reduce friction over there, you are going to use something called as ball bearings. Please write C, ball bearings. If you are able to change the tires of the car, you will understand where are the ball bearings over there. Okay. Now, a push or pull is called force. Of course, this is from the first chapter. Eighth one, the frictional force exerted by fluids is called. Fluid friction has another name called as drag. So please mark option C. I told you while teaching the lesson. The unit of force is Newton. Newton also is called as kilogram weight. Why? We have a formula, no? F is equal to MA. M is nothing but measured in kgs. Acceleration will be measured in weight over here. Okay, kg weight, basically. So please write ninth one is option C. Actually, it is meters per second square. Kilogram per meters per second square is the actual answer for this. Please check it out. 10th one. Friction is proportional to, I just told you, if normal force increases, friction also increases. So 10th one is option A class. Okay, 10th one is option A. 11th one, dash reduces the friction. Lubricants reduce the friction. 12th one, the force which opposes the relative motion of the two surfaces of the body which are in contact. This is the definition of frictional force class. So 12th one is option B. 13th one, dash comes into play when the surface of one object moves relative to the surface of another object. Moves relative to the surface of another object, this means it slides. So which option am I going to mark? It is 13th one, option B. 14th one, the friction which comes to play when surfaces of the object are at rest. They have given you the keyword rest. So which kind of friction am I going to mention? It is static friction. 14th one is B. 15th one, dash friction is self-adjusting. Self-adjusting comes to rest on its own. Basically like that. If the friction has not, if the applied force has not reached to a certain limit, the object is going to be at rest with relative to the other object, like the trolley and the block. Unless and until I was applying more amount of force, the block did not fall from the trolley. It was having a certain self-adjusting force. The self-adjusting force is nothing but the static friction. So A. Okay, 16th one, when applied force is dash than the limit of the static friction, then the body starts to move. If the applied force is more than the frictional force, the body is going to start to move. Yes or no? Yes, because you are dominating over the frictional force then. Okay, so now the option is B, more. 17th one. Friction is caused by the dash on the two surfaces which are in contact. For friction to happen, the surface needs to be rough or it needs to have irregularities. Which option class? Option B. 17th one also. Okay, 18th one, come to page number 86. Frictional force is independent of. Doesn't matter if I place the brick horizontal or vertical, no. So it is independent of the area of contact. It is 18th one, option C. 19th one, frictional force is proportional to the, as the normal force increases, the frictional force also increases. 19th one, B. Dash is responsible for overheating and wearing out of moving parts. If there is more friction, the moving parts are going to be in contact with each other for a longer duration of time, and the rough surfaces are going to be in contact with each other for such a duration that they are going to get worn out. The tires are going to tear if there is more amount of friction. Okay, so now what causes wear and tear? It is friction. 20. Fine. So friction causes overheating also. Remember the example when you're rubbing your palms. You rub it a little slighter, more vigorously, it is going to be totally warmed up. 21. Because of friction, dash of surface increases. They get heated up. So this means temperature is increasing. So 21 is option C. 22. When one body rolls over the surface of another body, the friction offered is. Can you see the keyword rolls over there? So which kind of friction are we talking about? We are talking about rolling friction. 22 is D. 23. Dash and dash are called fluids. Anything that is flowing is called as fluids. Both liquids and gases are flowy in nature. So 23rd is option A. This is basically from class 9 matter first chapter. Okay, so please mark 23rd option A. Now 24th, this is also there in a textbook. The length of the spring is proportional to the applied force. Okay, so 24th one is D. The length of the spring is going to be proportional to the applied force. 25th one, opposite of acceleration. It is called as deceleration, retardation, or negative acceleration. Okay, acceleration means when the body is moving forward in a non-uniform speed. Deceleration means when the body is taking a reverse in a non-uniform speed again. So opposite of acceleration is basically deceleration, which has other synonyms like retardation or negative acceleration, because acceleration counted backwards is always going to be considered as negative. If it is moving forward, if the body is moving forward, the acceleration is going to be positive. So it is option D, all of the above. 26th one. Gymnasts apply which material on their hands to increase friction for better grip? What do I do for a better grip? Am I going to apply some oil or cream on my palm? No. I'm going to apply some talcum powder so that it becomes dry and rough, and I'm able to lift the weights very easily. Watch Olympics for reference. Okay. Or else, you can watch the weightlifters. They apply their hand, they tap on the mud, and then they are going to lift up the weight. Mud is a coarse substance, helps in lifting up the weight. Why are they doing that? So that the weights don't slip, okay, from their hands. So 26th one is C. 27th, the change in the length of the spring is directly proportional to the applied force. We have done this just now and also in the textbook. So when the speed, 28th one, when the speed of the body moving in a straight line changes continuously, the body has acquired acceleration. This means if there is a person moving along with you and you push the person, the speed of the person changes, of course. So it accelerates. That is the job of the accelerator also in your car. Remember that point. So 28th one is option A. 29th, birds and fishes' bodies must have evolved to shapes which would make them not to lose much energy in overcoming which kind of friction class? Birds and fishes. Fluid friction. 29th one is option D. 30. In the below given friction, which friction is self-adjusting? Just explained you. It is nothing but static friction. 30 is B. 31. Friction is independent of, doesn't matter if I place the book horizontal or vertical. Horizontal or vertical. Doesn't matter. The mass of the book changes. No, I'm going to apply the same amount of force to hold the book. So it is independent of the area of contact. So it is option D. 31. 32. To overcome friction dash are used in machinery. Balls. What are those balls called as? Ball bearings. 32 is option D. 33. Friction produces. Rub your palms. What is it going to produce? It produces heat. What about the matchstick when it strikes the side of the matchbox? What is it doing? It is increasing the temperature, which is causing the matchstick head to burn or light up. So 33rd, friction produces heat. C. 34th, the friction exerted by a moving body. Just moving. So it is sliding friction. Okay, if it was rolling, then it is rolling friction. By birds and fishes, it is fluid. If it is at rest, then it is static. 34th one is option B class. 35. The friction acting on the body which is at rest. Just told you. It is static friction. 36. The friction exerted by fluid is called as drag. 36th one is D. 37th. The friction which is least among all the followings. Okay, static friction is the highest, followed by sliding, followed by rolling. So 37th one is C. 38th, the friction exerted by a rolling body. Can you see the keyword rolling again over here? So 38th one is C. 39. W minus N. This means the gravitational force and the normal force. When they are subtracted, you got a net force of 0. What does W minus N represent? W is nothing but the gravitational force. Gravitational. N is nothing but the normal force. When I subtract them, this means I'm finding out the net force. Okay, if the net force is 0, this means the object is at rest. Remember? So now look at this. W minus N is equal to 0. If the gravitational force was 1 Newton and the normal force was 1 Newton, 1 minus 1 is going to be 0. What do I understand? That both these forces are equal in these cases. That is why when I subtracted them, I got the answer as 0. Yes or no? So this means W is equal to N. Okay, 39th one is option C. 40. If you push a heavy box with less force, is it going to move? No, it stays there only. 40 is option B. 41. If the roughness of the surface is more, then the friction will be, to increase the friction, you need to have a rougher surface. So rougher the surface, more is the friction. What do you do to reduce the friction? Apply lubricants, grease, oil. 41 is A. 42. If the applied force is more than the friction, the brick moves in the direction. Okay, if you're going to apply more amount of force, which is going to dominate the frictional force, the brick is going to start moving in the direction where you're applying the force. So 42 is A. 43. Friction is proportional. That symbol stands for proportional to force. The symbol proportional, okay, what does it represent? It represents is proportional to. 43rd is C. Friction is dash. Both it has advantages as well as disadvantages. So 44th one is C. What is the advantage? You're able to ride, you're able to walk, you're able to stop the vehicle, control the speeds, and too many things. What is the disadvantages? Wear and tear in machinery. Okay, then too much of overheating in machinery. 45. Water dash as a lubricant. Can water work as a lubricant? Do you think? Water doesn't work as a lubricant. It needs to have a certain consistency. Water lacks that viscosity and consistency that oils and grease has. So 45 is option B. Okay, water does not work as a lubricant. Okay, so now I am giving you Sakshi, and you're going to write it down that lesson 2 objectives done and homework. Read lesson 2. I want you to go through the entire lesson word by word. Use a highlighter or a pencil and underline whatever is hard or tough, or whatever is, needed to be understood by you, and try to understand it. Look back at the videos again to understand what was taught in the lesson. It is a very easy lesson. Most of the questions usually are asked from this lesson in the final paper. It's a very easy chapter. Hope you are done with the study material of both the lessons. And please read the Sakshi again that I've written over here. Understand what is net force, understand what is friction, static friction, self-adjusting force, rolling friction, the least amount of friction is present in rolling friction. Fluid friction is also called as drag, and it is present in birds and fluids, birds and fishes. And what are the factors that fluid friction is dependent upon? Then how does the matchstick burn? And what else did we study? Yes, the brick experiments, where friction is directly proportional to normal force. How do you prove it? Does it depend on the area of contact? Does it depend on weight? And then we have the toy trolley experiment also, okay, where you're learning about sliding and static friction over there. So what I suggest is, please go through the entire lesson word by word so that you understand what was taught in the lesson. Okay, I know you guys can definitely do it. Please look at the Sakshi, follow it. I hope you have followed. I call it a day. So yeah, thank you.